All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
And Donnie, and I want to come back to your experience, especially with the pandemic. I feel like the pandemic is really kind of a marker for the entire world. We were able to, unfortunately, we experienced it all at the same time. But coming out of the pandemic, you mentioned that it was hard for the business, but then I feel like it created this whole new era of nomadic individuals, nomadic workers, nomadic travelers, whatever you want to call it, that really didn't exist, 2 years prior to that. There was like this discovery of individuals that knew that they wanted to travel the world and have that nomadic lifestyle. So on one end, it might have been a hard hit for your business, but on another, I would imagine that it uncovered a whole new just group of individuals that weren't there as potential clients.
Yeah, well, I mean, our clients are predominantly the businesses involved in travel in the travel industry. So, in terms of like the revenue side of things, the magazine and the platform, because we do more than just the magazine, but the platform in general was hit very hard because travel and hospitality just died. Our clients had no money. Plus, what is worse is because they took such a heavy whack from it, the invoices and the bills that we had weren't paid either. There's no way that we could chase them up because they're like, we don't have any money,
Right.
which kind of sucks. Plus, at the start of it as well, I had things had gone very well, and I'd managed to kind of save because I'm a big believer in saving. I managed to save quite a bit of cash, and then I put all of it into protecting our team at the start of the pandemic, because we were told by the government that the lockdown was only going to be 6 weeks. So we kind of calculated, okay, fine. Loyalty was quite important to me. So fine, I'll just make sure everyone's paid. That's fine. No worries, no worries. And then once that was gone, it was still bloody another year and a half, 2 years before things opened up again. So we had to find other things. We had to pivot, and we had to make things happen. So that was one of the low parts that I mentioned. When you're working out what you have to do in a day just to keep a business alive. Even around that, because I kind of blipped a little bit. Yep, sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, there was a little bit of a glitch, but you're great. Yes.
I thought maybe the signal had been lost over the Atlantic. But yeah, so COVID did hit us very hard, and it was a pain. We had to we didn't shelve the project, but it did go down to much lower capacity. We tried to relaunch the magazine several times. We tried in 21, and that didn't work out again because people were like, yeah, we want to be involved. We can't pay. I was like,
pay you.
Okay,
yes.
Because we were writing content for businesses to make sure that they had fresh content to attract new clients. We were writing articles on the hospitality industry and hotels pro bono because these businesses just needed the exposure, because everyone was fighting for the attention of the very few people who had the confidence to travel. This is when things kind of opened up, because while there was this massive rush of people wanting to travel everywhere, different sectors didn't open up as fast as others could. You had the big hotels. They're like, oh yeah, we can open our doors now. We'll open up because they've got the insurance policies. They had the money back in them. Well, some of them had the money back in them. COVID certainly did reveal that not every business is basically always working on the margins, because companies are like, yeah, we employ 3,000 people, but we can't pay anyone. So it was a bit of an eye opener for all of that. And I think the fragility of industry was really kind of revealed. And so when things opened up, you had the smaller businesses. You had these family businesses, these B&Bs, and these smaller homes, these smaller hotels, and the campsites and the glamping sites. These are all individuals who decided to build up these small businesses, hoping to build something grand, and they were just swamped by it. And so we did a focus in terms of like the glamping sites, for example. We did quite a heavy focus on them, just highlighting origin stories of these businesses, highlighting their stories, what they've gone through, how they've built things up, what measures they're taking to make sure travelers are safe, locations, kind of building up all that. And we played our part in terms of helping the industry recover. I think we certainly did that, which I'm very proud of. And today things are they've kind of turned around because, like you said, there are more people now who are interested in traveling and working at the same time. The remote industry has never been working remote has never been more popular. Digital nomads have never been more popular, but that is also kind of causing some issues in other areas as well for the businesses that are our clients, because not every employee, not every person is how to phrase this properly, is suited to working remotely. Because when you don't have someone looking over your shoulder, making sure you're doing the job,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or they just go, fine, I'll just find that really low standard that I can do just so I don't lose the job, which is, I use that to cover myself when I was building up the business, but other days I was working, 20-hour days. Some people just
Yeah.
like, no, I'll just do the bare minimum and I'll just coast while they're traveling. So they're getting the best of both worlds, but the company suffers.
Yes.
So I do think it's like you say, it's a fresh thing. There's lots of stuff happening. It's a bit of a chaotic storm,
Yeah.
which I don't know how things are going to go. How is that kind of thing working in the US? Are more and more people working remotely, and is digital nomads becoming more and more popular across on your side of the ocean?
You know what? It there was a huge shift right when the pandemic happened, and then a lot of companies closed down offices and
Hmm.
were able to work. They're like, nope, you're going to work remote because they found it was more cost effective not to have the building, the bricks and mortar. But then same thing, the efficiency wasn't there, and so then there were companies that were like, nope, everybody has to come back. And
Hmm.
you had already had people that are like, sweet, I don't have to go to the office, let's go move to another state or let's move to the
Mhm.
mountains, and now they have to go back to work. And so
Mhm.
Yeah.
there's been a lot of shift. I think the biggest thing that we've seen in our industry, because we're both in real estate, is agents. I was one of those agents that I was at the office every day. I never go to the office. I'm there
Hmm.
maybe once a month. Actually won an award for my company this year, and it was the
Okay.
Catch Me If You Can, which is hilarious from that movie.
Yeah.
'Cause I will come in and I'll be like, okay. And then I'm like, all right, bye. I'll see you in a month. So yeah, so it's getting people back in, but I know how powerful it is for that connection,
Mm.
that in-person connection, that energy transfer that you get from being with a person. But not everybody's suited for working from home. I'm
Yeah.
perfectly
Mm.
capable of working from
Yeah.
home, but not everybody is.
Yeah.
I do find that I think the creative industry, especially, is the creative side of things that is tied into, like for example, publishing has a very strong creative element to it. Writers, even with the growth of artificial intelligence and things like ChatGPT and whatnot, I
Mhm.
there's this kind of fear in my industry that when ChatGPT came out, people were like, that's it, writers are done. No one's
Yeah.
ever going to write again. Content creators are done.
Yeah.
And I was like, there was a time when dock workers rioted and went on strike on the docks because people were bringing in forklifts,
Yep.
100 years ago. And it's just a new tool. And if you don't
Yes.
use it, if you don't know how to use it, you're going to be left behind. But it is just a new tool. And I was like, there was a time when you didn't even have spell check on things, so you had to check your own spell check. Now everyone uses that. You just adapt the technology to work with yourself, and you just keep moving. Um, but I do think that in the creative industries, not having someone with you to bounce off of can be a problem.
Mhm.
Um, like as a journalist myself, I find I actually do wherever I go. Because at the moment, I'm kind of stuck in one location. I've got a family I'm raising. But prior to that, when I was traveling, I always used to make sure that I'd rent out a desk somewhere in a co-working space in an office,
Mm.
wherever I was, whether it be a Regis or a co-working or a Hive, whatever the case was, because just having someone around you does bring out the best in terms of creativity and work ethic. Because if you're working hard and you're you're working straightforward and you take a break and you see someone else working as well. Okay, fine, I'll get back into it. It cuts away distractions. So I do think that the office work in an office environment can be useful, but on the same note as well, I like traveling. I like traveling, so it kind of goes without it. Some people are just fine not working in an office. They're fine working by themselves. But I find I do need a balance between it, or else I just get so wrapped up in my own head, I get nothing done.
Yeah.
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 Natalie and I do a lot of, we do a think week every year, and we
Okay.
are doing a 3-day retreat this week, and that's kind of what we do. It's when we decided to do a podcast, and that's
Yeah.
Came out of one of those think weeks. Yes, exactly.
so yeah, that having those people that you can bounce ideas off of and collaborate with, and I'll say something and it'll spur something from Natalie and vice versa. And so yeah, it's such a great idea.
Yeah, I think that the social aspect of creativity is very important. Again, if you look at any of the stories that we watch on television or we read, the really popular stories, wherever there's that one creative genius, whether it be Sherlock Holmes or whether it be, any kind of fictional writing on like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or Doctor Who or whatever it is, they always have a companion that they can bounce off of. And the moment that social aspect is gone, the moment they don't have an audience that they can bounce on, a soundboard they can bounce off ideas from, they just spiral and they just lose themselves. I think if you're not working in an office, definitely having someone that you can have creative discussions with is vital to keeping things fresh, or else you just fall apart. It's one of the reasons why I love doing podcasts. I love getting involved in other people's podcasts because it's like gives you the opportunity to talk about stuff. And I do tend to talk a lot, and I get quite involved. I'm like, so you can imagine if I'm by myself, I'm just like,
Yeah. And there's only so much of yourself that you can listen to, right? You can say it, but what else will you say to you?
Yeah, I remember I was in Prague. Prague, I love Prague. If I hadn't ended up in Edinburgh during lockdown, I would have loved to have been in Prague. Have you ever visited the city?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the home of Bohemia. It's like, it's got that culture, it's got that vibe. It's just European, the heart of Europe. It's just gorgeous. And I was there during the wintertime as well, so snowing as well, and the trams. It was just so spectacular. But I remember I got there like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'd been traveling quite a bit. I'd been on a bus for 48 hours, and I hadn't slept, and I was basically just riding on like 6 packs of Monster and Red Bull, and was very unhealthy. And I hadn't realized, but I was just talking to myself while I was just kind of getting ready. I was getting quite animated, and I got a knock on the door from this lovely old guy. He didn't speak a word of English, and he gradually just kind of made it clear, like, listen, it's like 3:30 in the morning, and you're making a lot of noise. And I was in an Airbnb, so he was like, he basically he wrote me a note in his name's Czechoslovakian. Czech, and he wrote me a note. So I had to go into Google Translate and Google, and it basically just said, "Have you moved in?" So I was like, "No." He goes, "Good," and he just leaves. So,
as long as this is temporary, we're good.
Yeah, he was like, "Have you moved in?" I was like, "No." He goes, "Oh, that's good. That's good." And off he went, happy as pie. I was like, "Oh, all right." I felt very unwelcome, but I do think, yeah, if you, I think having someone that you can bounce off of and have a laugh with is important,
Right?
And I think, especially for myself, I'm a storyteller, so if I don't have someone to tell stories to, I don't do well.
Oh, you're gonna be a great dad.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, my 2-week-old daughter is my strongest critic already.
Of course she is. She will continue to be.
I've got my partner. I've got a stepson with my partner, a 10-year-old, who is he's also he can be a brutal critic sometimes, a brutal critic. And sometimes just like,
yeah. I found it to be the best, though. It's like, I would have never said it to myself, but now that you've said it to me, I'll at least take it into consideration.
Yeah, he found a clip of some of the old comedy I did when I was in my 20s. When I was one of the other projects I was involved in, I was the naked busker.
Yes.
And he found a clip on the YouTube, and he just went, "That sucks." So I was like, "Cheers." I was like, "Yeah, that's what." He goes, how do you phrase it? He goes, "Yeah, that sucks. I can see why you're not a comedian anymore." And I was like, You little
Thanks.
shit. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to use that language.
Now you can. That's
Sorry.
it. That's it. The
Bless
kids. Yeah, exactly. They're fabulous. They're fabulous. Well, Donnie, tell us what is in store with the Lost Executive. You now have various mediums in terms of the content that you're sharing and how that's going out. Tell us what's on the horizon. What's going on?
Sure. So we've relaunched the magazine. We did a slight revamp of the mag, which was much needed. So we relaunched that middle of last year. So that's going well.
Beautiful.
We are looking into.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
exciting.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. After many false starts, we're looking at setting up a podcast. We tried to get a YouTube channel up and running, and thinking that we'd be able to convert we got just under 130,000 regular subscribers to the magazine. And we made the ignorant idea. We had the ignorant idea that it would just convert onto a YouTube presence, which was not the case at all. Like at all. It's easier to get blood out of stone than getting some people just to change the meter that they work on. I was like, all right. But we tried it. We tested stuff out. We see what works, and we did the research. We invested into into educating ourselves about what worked, what doesn't work. So the route that we decided to go to, because we do need to have, in any kind of business that involves telling stories, you need to have multiple mediums to tell that story. You can't just do it via the magazine or the website, because fewer people are reading stuff nowadays. I'd say that the important people, the decision makers on our side, at least the decision makers, the business owners, they read the articles, but we need to find another way to reach out to new people who may be the business leaders of the future. And so we're looking to set up a podcast. We have no idea how it's going to be formatted, but we're just kind of doing the research on that. We're very excited about that. That's going to be definitely something we're going to be looking at, as well as we're interested in setting up a publishing house for books for self-published authors.
Beautiful.
Got a name for that, got an idea for that, because I've been fortunate enough that I've had a few books published. I've written fiction. I've got a few books published, and I've managed to self-publish a couple of my own books. I say with a bit of a flourish, which means nothing. That was that's the other thing about publishing. People are like, oh, you're a published author. I'm like, yes, I am. Brilliant. Do I know you? Probably not. It's like, yeah. So we're setting something up based on that, where we're finding the raw talent that we can use to help promote the books, the kind of people with the experience that we can work with and collaborate with. We have quite a long list of potential authors who are both writing books and are finishing up their manuscripts. Something fun. Lots of them are digital nomads, writing about their travels. And where a lot of writers fall short, I think, is that once you've poured years of work and your heart and soul into creating something and you finish it, then you think, okay, what am I going to do now? And publishers can be horrible when it comes to it, because they're only interested in what's definitely going to make them money. The days of old-fashioned publishers taking a gamble and taking a risk on something they think is good it's just dead now. But then self-publishing has always been a prominent thing. A lot of the books that we read today that are considered classics were all self-published. The idea of a publishing firm is actually fairly recent. It's actually a fairly new thing. Peter Rabbit's was self-published. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Curious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that was self-published. Most of the great poets, Carol, not Lewis Carroll, the Christmas Carol story. I've just pulled a complete blank on it. But Scrooge and the ghosts and all that was self-published. So that is the norm. Again, I think it's useful to have a publishing house set up specifically for that, to kind of give these authors a bit of a push. So that's something we're looking to, if not set up this year, it'll definitely be next year. We're kind of managing a few things around events that are taking place this year, and obviously as a driving force, I do have other priorities at the moment. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I think in terms of business, I'm the worst thing, because I'm just completely distracted by my family. Like I can't work from home. That's the other reason I can't work from home, because the second they come into the room, there's nothing else that's taking place.
It's over.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing and also not a productive thing, but it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
It's beautiful until you have to pay bills. I'm like, oh
That's
yeah,
exactly
no,
that. Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
Why, she comes in and she's like, well, what about your bottom line standard? I was like, I got my daughter. What are you talking about? She's sleeping.
Look at this moment. Exactly.
Go away. She's sleeping.
Oh, that's great. I love
Donnie,
that.
you gotta work. You have a meeting. Go away. Away. Wake her.
That's right. You go back to the basics of what you said, like the phone and the internet. If you can make the call, that you're good to go. You can't do that when you've got a sleeping baby.
Yeah, I think there's probably a different kind of key tools that you need if you have a family. Phone, internet, get an office somewhere, or a tent outside.
That's it.
Go do your 1 hour.
Yes.
Yeah, just I mean, yeah, and I don't regret it though. I don't regret it. I think being a father is great. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of my thing. For a long time, I didn't think I could have kids, so it was a bit of a surprise, and everything was a bit of a rush. Not a bit of a rush. We moved at our own pace, but everyone else seems to think it's quite fast. I don't have any middle gears, so I tend to, if I
it's
like
on or
something,
off.
yeah. I mean, in February, our daughter will be just over a month old, maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks old, in middle of February, and we will celebrate our 1 year anniversary of being together.
Oh,
So
congratulations! Exactly,
yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. It's quite fast. I mean, lucky, I think, is a word I'd say. It's quite lucky. It could definitely have been the case that, we would be like, well, this was not the right decision to make. But I mean, it's one of those weird things. I've always had the consideration that I've always considered myself to be quite lucky.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, oh yeah, no, I'm lucky. I'm in business. I'm lucky I've got this business that I'm running that's quite nice. And people are like, yeah, but what have you done for it? I'm like, ah. And then I think back, I'm like, yeah, I've just done a lot of blind jumping, just blind, having a bit of faith that things will work out if I just keep leaning forward and don't fall flat on my face. And then she just came around and just changed everything. It was quite lovely, actually.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah. I think that's what faith is, right? It has to be blind. Otherwise you're kind of just dipping a toe in.
Yeah, you can't have faith if you're certain. If you're certain in something, that faith has no place in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not religious in any way, but I do think that believing in something, even if it's just a case that believing in luck, if you just believe that you're lucky, often that will just hold you out.
Absolutely.
Luck will always hold you out if your nerve can stand it. If you can hold your nerve for long enough, pure blind luck will just leave you in the right way. The universe conspires to get you what you want.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been a hectic year, for the magazine, full of life, full of family, and full of business, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh, beautiful.
Mushy.
See your next chapter in the
exactly. I'm excited for it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, my kids are never going to be allowed on the internet. I'm not going to allow them on the internet because there's a lot of stuff from the last 30 years of me being an idiot on the internet. So it's like, yeah, they're like, Daddy, why can't we go on Google? No.
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
So your Daddy, comedy sets, nothing.
They'll be coming and say, Daddy, I found something on the internet. And then next day, like, Daddy, why did you burn all the computers?
That's me. I don't know who that was.
And here, the curious side of me is just well, now I've got to go down the rabbit hole. There's limited information out there on you. I just didn't prep for this recording, but now I'm curious.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Posted in the show notes. It's fine. It's great, Donnie. You're safe with us.
Oh no, like I said, I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind talking about it. But they will one day ask, Daddy, why are we living in a hut on a mountaintop? away from
Yes.
everything, you know. And
With
I'll be
no
like,
internet.
I was like, yeah. People start talking about old stuff that they found on the internet, but so we
Yes.
had just had to go live out in the bundu.
That's the
Um,
safe place.
it's a safe place, yeah. It's just I do when I get an idea in my head, I'm just like, oh, brilliant! This is it. This is
This
what's
is
going to
it.
work. This is what's going to make me. This is it. The life changer. I've got to do it, and everything about it is the most important thing. So I'm like, I've absolutely got to do this. If I don't do this, I'll regret it. And sometimes I'm like, brilliant. And that formulates into like an idea, a creative idea. I'm like, excellent. There's no way that this could fail.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, granted, the ones that succeed, they do pretty well, but there's at least 9 out of 10 of them that just fall flat in their face. And not just the case of, oh, the business didn't quite work out. It's like everyone's like, yeah, we told you that wasn't going to work,
This is
and you
not it.
did it
Yes.
anyway, you know.
That's what an
um
entrepreneur does. That's what
That's
yeah,
it.
I mean,
That's it.
what were some of the crazy? I could give you a short list of some of the dumbest things I've done, some of the dumbest ideas. If you have any listeners who are like interested in to find out how someone can basically just fail their way into success.
I think that's
um
important. Absolutely. What are a
Fine.
handful of those?
All
Yes.
right. So when I was oh God, I was 13. I set up a business with a mate of mine called Bradley Mater in South Africa called Fix and Shine. And our whole thing was that we were going to fix bicycles and then shine them up for
Oh,
money. It was easy. Yeah, we were riding our bicycles in the suburbs in South Africa, which is very violent, lots of crime. We were just riding about on our bicycles. It was a different
Yeah.
time. And we set up the business. We got flyers. It was before like emails and stuff, so we had little flyers we put up everywhere, and we got lots of people saying, "Yes, please come fix our bicycles." And we were like, "Oh, this is so exciting!" We got there and realized that we had no idea. We didn't even know how to fix a puncture.
Oh gosh.
So like we rocked up. I think I rocked up at our first kind of client. I had a wrench that I nicked from my dad's garage, and it was a
Yes.
wrench for a blooming car. It had nothing to do with a bike at all. And this, bless her heart, our first customer was a girl named Ruth Purdom, who was like, she just like stood there. Here's my bike, and it had been wrecked. And we're like, can we just shine it? She's like, yeah, no, okay. She's like, okay, fair enough. You can fix it. You don't know what you're doing, so just give it a shine. We're like, brilliant. Can we borrow some polish, please? We didn't
oh
bring
my
any with us. Yeah, we literally it was terrible. So that was not the best start.
details, details.
Um,
That's
oh
it.
goodness. Yeah. Then I set up like I said, I was a stand-up comedian for a bit called the Naked Busker.
Yeah.
And that was I was a little bit, that was in my 20s, my mid-20s. A little bit of a big deal. I was big enough that I was traveling around Britain doing gigs, and I'll just get up and play the guitar in a pair of boots and a funny hat and nothing else. And that was successful enough, except I was playing the guitar and I didn't know how to sing. I was a really bad singer. And also I didn't know how to learn anyone else's songs. So I made up my own songs to play on the guitar badly and sing. Um, yeah. And then that went okay for a bit. And then I was like, yeah, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
This is just exhausting. Because I was traveling around and like I had to be fit all the time. So I had to like kind of make sure I was at the gym and kind of stay in shape. And I was like, especially in wintertime, I was just walking around in like at most a little bit of like almost like a little bit of a bikini kind of thing and boots. So I was like freezing cold all the time. And people were like, oh, play us a song. I'm like, it's -2. And
I'm not playing a
you
song.
know, I'm not playing a song. I look like a Ken doll, you know? And they're like, you must be really cold. I'm like, yes. That
Oh.
chattering you hear isn't gunfire, it's my teeth.
My teeth.
You're gonna have to
Um,
live in a mountain shack with your family.
yeah.
With your
There's
That's it.
there's
Hence,
a few
hence.
there's a few things on, like a few people have come up to me, and
Oh.
this is one of the reasons why I think I have to keep building businesses, because no one's going to employ me, because they're like, yeah, we did a bit of a background search and you, oh,
No,
I'm like, really? They're, yeah, we just Googled you. We Googled Donnie Rust and we
Yes.
spent some time on there. It's just like there's a lot of pages. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there.
That's it.
Um,
Oh wow.
I briefly set up a bunch of cameras in my apartment, thinking that what I was going to do is create a reality show where people could just watch me live my life. and I called it fly on the wall cams. Now it's dead. That died very quickly, because what I realized is that my social life perished.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
no, because again, I was like, this is brilliant. Everyone's going to want to do it. So I got a website set up. I spent a fortune on getting these really fancy cameras, which I put up in my apartment all over the place. And then I was like, got set up, and you know, I got people checking it out on the website. This is fantastic. But then, like, no one, I was like, why don't all my friends didn't want to come over? No one wanted to come over for
No.
drinks, hang out. I was like, what's wrong with you? Don't worry, it's fine. Just come on. Come. I need you to sign this disclaimer. But come on, let's go
Exactly. I
ahead.
have
Let's
to
go
be
have a
on the
beer.
show.
And also, I kind of realized the kind of people who watch that sort of thing, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah, these people are scary.
power,
So that,
power down. Yes.
yeah. So that was I made the mistake of telling everyone that, and I also think I left the job because I thought that was going to be like I was working for a
Thought it was
magazine at
going to
the
be a
time.
$1 million
I
idea.
thought I was going to be a millionaire in like a
Oh,
weekend. I thought,
yes.
I'd set up on a
Oh,
Friday. By the Monday, I'd be a millionaire. I would never have to work again. So I left the job,
That's
and I like very kind of like pulling down all the cameras and filling up the holes, and just kind of like just never speaking to anyone about it ever again, like
no.
at
oh, tell me
all.
about that.
Yes.
It
Oh
was
my,
dead.
that's awesome.
Um, oh yeah, it
That's some good
was.
ones.
Yeah, and there's just, my brain's just kind of racing with like, oh, I can't tell you that one. No, I can't tell you that one. No, I can't tell you that one.
Oh,
So yeah, I think,
Of
yeah,
creativity, I have to say that with the businesses that you've already shared, like these three, I'm thinking, gosh, that there's not a lack of creativity there for sure. There's
yeah. The thing is, though, is that I think people have actually done that very well, and also the cameras were before like the invent of OnlyFans and whatnot, which has kind of taken
yes.
off. Which I do kind of. There's a part of me is like, yeah, fine. So I had all these wacky ideas, brilliant,
you're
and I'm
ahead of
like, yeah,
you
none of
were
them worked. And I'm like, yeah, oh, none of them worked. And for a long time, I was a struggling writer. And then you get I had a friend, I say a friend, I was able to interview her, and she left her job working at a Tesco bank. She was earning a fortune because she went on OnlyFans, and all that she does is she bought herself some really nice lingerie, and she makes Lego things, with like Star Wars Lego and
Oh,
Jurassic World and stuff. And she
yeah.
does that on camera, and she makes a fortune. I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm like, you're kidding me. That's so unfair.
Donnie, you were
I'm like,
just ahead of your time. That's
it's
all.
like,
so ahead.
I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm too old for OnlyFans. I don't want to go on OnlyFans. I mean, I don't know. I got big hands. I can't play with Lego. I'm like, I can't do that
Well, you
stuff.
might
And
not want to do the lingerie and the Legos. You might have to come up with something different.
you
Maybe
know,
you
I
do.
could you imagine if I did that? Then I went in for a job interview in the future, and they're like, "Yes, we did a little bit of a search on
You
you."
might have to like,
No, yes.
the worst is your kids.
And my kids like, "Daddy,
Yes.
why did we leave Earth? Why are we living
That's
on a different planet?"
Living in space
leave
now.
the planet.
I'm like, "Don't talk. You'll steam up your helmet. Stop talking."
Oh
That's
my
awesome.
Yeah,
That is awesome. I
God.
love that. Well, for our aspiring entrepreneurs out there, I guess this is just to say there are no bad ideas. You may fail your way through them, but there are no bad ideas.
And
yeah.
you
I think it's important that you learn from stuff on
That's
each
it. The
on every
lessons
idea. Yeah,
learned.
yeah.
Yeah,
And if you never try something, you'll never know what works, and you won't learn what doesn't work.
absolutely.
exactly.
There's no saying. I don't in the Hagakure, which is it's a book that was written for the samurai in Japan. It's a very famous book. You can buy it anywhere. It's like, a lot of people who like do martial arts and whatnot, and the pretentious storytellers like me. Yes, yes. In the Hagakure, it says this, but basically, it says that in any kind of war council, you should always listen to the old samurai that has failed a few times,
Yeah,
because you
Mm,
learn more when you fail than you do when you succeed. If you
that's right.
succeed at everything, you're never going to learn lessons. It's very difficult to look back on a success and go, okay, what did I do right and what did I do wrong?
Right.
Because you can't kind of see if you got that. The success creates a very firm line from start to finish. You think, okay, well,
Yes.
this is everything I did right. But if you fail, you go, okay, well, this is where I kind of went wrong, and
Yes.
where I went askew. And I'm lucky; I've gone askew a lot,
a
quite
lot.
quite often. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, I think I just say that I've just invested very heavily in a very hardcore education.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, higher
You know,
education.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
definitely paying rewards now. So kudos to you on that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is at the moment. It is at the moment. The lost, like anything, a business is a fluid entity. So currently things are going well. We're able to employ a lot of free agents, a lot of digital nomads, a lot of freelancers who are kind of tapped into this gig economy. We're able to provide them with regular work. Writers, again, a lot of exposure thanks to us, which is great. People are very interested in talking with us, which is always nice. I like that.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I think it's going well. We have a good reputation. Things are, at the moment, things are quite happy. And this year's gone very well for me. I'm very, very pleased with how things have turned out. Um, but yeah, I mean, 2025. How's it looking for you guys? What are you guys up to?
Fabulous.
It's amazing. Yeah, we're heading into our planning session on Thursday, so in a couple of days. But so far so good. I have no complaints, and we already have a fabulous lineup of guests that we
Mhm.
get to interview here the next couple of days. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the kind of people that you interview, and it sounds like are able to tap across quite a wide range of industries. Are there
Right.
any? Have you kind of picked up on any kind of hurdles or any kind of forecast that people in different industries are kind of highlighting? Like, you know, the last 5 years have been quite tumultuous for one reason or another.
Right.
Has it kind of reflected in the stories that you've heard? Are there any kind of concerns that any of the other interviewees have kind of raised about their industries, or I'm just kind of interested. I'm nosy.
No, not necessarily. I think for the most part, the majority of the guests that we've had on the last few episodes, I'd say maybe a dozen or 2 dozen, have all been personal
Hmm.
and not necessarily taking it to their industry. So we haven't had that opportunity. We know we're US based. So in the
Yeah.
real estate space, we have many of the challenges that we've had that they're carryover from 2024 in terms of just housing attainability, housing affordability, interest rates. I mean, we
Yeah.
just came out of an election year. It's everything. We do it all at the same time. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, UK has currently got a massive housing crisis and a cost of living
Yes.
crisis. Quite
Yes.
horrific. I saw some of the statistics today and some of the graphs today. I was just like, wow, that's not cool.
Right.
Um, but also Britain tends to kind of follow wherever America leads in terms
Hmm.
of industry.
Exactly.
So yeah, so like the housing, the real estate market, is it? I mean, how is the compared to previous years, and then going forward into 2025? What is it looking like?
Yeah, great question. It is hard for me to compare real estate in 2023, 24, and I would even say 25 to each other. I think a better benchmark would be comparing it to 2019.
Mhm.
And so many people don't really look at the industry going back to 2019. I would say that that's probably the most balanced year that we've had over the last 5 years or six
Yeah.
years now. And so we'll see. Our housing shortage in the U.S. is not going to be solved in 2025. So the housing shortage is going to be an issue that we face unless there's some type of massive change that happens in terms. It has to be like a policy change, and I mean there are so many layers to that. And then the affordability piece of it is going to be a challenge, just because the cost of living has accelerated so quickly here in the U.S.
Mm,
And
yeah.
the cost of homes have also gone up quite a bit here in the US. So there's not one simple solution for it. Um, I wish it would all fix itself in 2025. I think that this is something that's going to probably correct itself. Hopefully, this is my hope that it corrects itself over the next 2 to 3 years. Because if it's a sudden correction, then we are facing a problem, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and in terms of like the real estate, is that because I imagine there's different kind of levels. You got in city and then suburban and
Mhm.
outwards. Because is it because people are wanting to live near to the city centers or near to like the community hubs, or is it just a case that there's not the land available for new homes to be built, or is it something else?
Land, water. Water is a big one in our
Yeah.
Yeah,
areas. We don't have the water.
yeah.
And so builders can't buy land because there's no land. And if they could get land, there's not oftentimes water available for them
Mhm.
to get water
I
taps.
wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
unfortunately that is a big issue.
It is. It really is. Yeah, I'm aware of a couple of communities that cannot complete their build out. So newer construction communities, because there's no water available to finish the project. So that's something that it's a real issue that we have to
Yeah.
address. Yeah,
I mean, that's because I suppose if that's affecting the construction industry for the real estate, it's certainly affecting every other industry and people's lives.
absolutely. It's probably
Yeah.
the one industry that has the ability to impact an entire community because, like you said, you have the construction side of that. So you have all of the laborers and the materials that are coming in that supports retail within the community. And then you have like the development piece of that for the builders and the developers that are coming in. Then you have the clients, right? So the homeowners and the home
Mhm.
sellers, and the impact that that has. So just the wealth that's created or the equity that's gained and acknowledged and recognized, and then it continues to pass through the community again. I think in real estate, is it 8 times that $1 will pass through a community from a real estate transaction? So it's significant. That doesn't even take into consideration the real estate practitioners that are helping in the buying and selling. So
Yeah.
it ripples throughout the community a great deal. It's yeah, it's an
It's weird.
important
It's
part
no,
of our
yeah, no matter how advanced and developed a civilization becomes, the cities and communities always have to be near controllable water.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's weird because in the UK you don't hear that's not something you've heard that we hear about in terms of if we're looking into other industries. Often what we get is a bit of a shuttered, filtered look,
Hmm,
just because of the way that the internet does that now. So actually, to get hold
it
of
does.
real um, the unique facts, you need to actually speak to people. You can't just be a keyboard jockey.
The field
You know,
that are, boots on the ground and yeah.
boots on the ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta be on site and get involved
Yes.
in that.
Yeah.
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 So is that just the water for the actual construction, or is that also drinking water? Is that also
That's
affected?
like the water that goes to the houses. Yeah. So
Literally, yeah. So
for
it's the
watering
Yeah.
infrastructure.
their grass and drinking water and taking a
Hmm.
bath and all the things.
Yeah.
Is that because America is mostly? Because I was always under the impression there are parts of America that are just like wet. The news we do see is like a lot of places, like as far as I'm aware, are just like
Flooding
cities
and
that have
all
cars
that.
floating.
Yes.
You know,
No.
it's
It's
like
not
it's like a
part of
chaotic
the
version of Venice,
world.
just like
Yes. Our
There's
part of the world, we actually don't want that. I mean, not
yes.
that any part of our country wants to have it or any part of the world wants to have it. But no, it's I think there's a greater part of the country that's quite dry than more of it that's dry than wet or has enough water and all of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what let's say if we're gonna if maybe we could do like a think tank now. Is there a way to get around that? Is there desalination plants? Is that a thing? Are the desalination plants taking that on board to kind of pump the water across? Because I know water is vital in South Africa. The infrastructure for water, oddly enough, while the rest of the country might be falling apart, the
Yeah.
infrastructure for the water, at least when I was there, is very good. Um,
Ah,
you can get drinking water from a tap on the side of the road, and it'll be drinking water. It won't be
wow.
like, and this is in a subtropical climate where you get a lot of, you know, ho-hos just wanting to get hold of you.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's interesting to see how because someone said that about Britain. Britain is a layered country. It's a layered country because you got layers of civilization that have been built on top of it, and layers of bureaucracy and ownership and management of land and et cetera, on top of each other to the point where when you're at the top, no matter how deep you dig, you're just going to hit more of Britain. But America
Mhm.
is still quite a young country. But
Right.
even so, its layers are there's a lot of layers there. Um, do you do you think that the water situation is something that's just been missed, or has it just been like poorly handled in the past, or has it never been a problem before, or like how we come into this
I think
situation?
this as the population has grown,
Yes.
and the demand for water has
Yes.
is not kept up with that. And for us, we really depend on the snow that we get in the mountains to fill the reservoirs for the
Ah,
summer. And if we have a really dry winter and we don't get the snow, then our reservoirs don't get filled, which then that water can't come down to us. And so then you can only water your grass 1 day a week. And so it's a big deal. And other states get water from Colorado. So like
Hmm.
Nevada, which is a desert, gets water from Colorado. And so we're giving water to other states and that don't have water. And so it's always been an issue. And water, so like I'm selling a commercial property right now, and there's not even a full share of water, and it's over $1 million for the share.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So it is highly valued, and and when it comes available, the city tries to buy it so that they have the water,
Mm.
but then you have private developers that buy it,
Right.
and then
Well,
sometimes there's no
water's more
water.
valuable than gold, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yes, it
But
is.
do you, I mean, with the have there been droughts like this in the past, or is this like a fairly new thing?
I would say it's
I'm I'm trying to
I think
work out
it's,
how to kind of word in, like,
yeah.
is climate change responsible for it, or is this like a cycler thing that you've seen over the years? You've seen it kind of come and go.
I think it's a culmination. I think that there's definitely the climate change piece of it that has had an impact. Pam mentioned the population growth has had a tremendous impact on it.
Always
And
does.
then you mentioned like the mismanagement piece of it.
Yeah.
I don't I won't say that it's mismanagement, but the powers that be, years and years ago that thought it would be a good idea to sell our water to other states may not have thought about population growth and all of that,
Mm.
and the demand for water within the state. And this is specifically for the state of Colorado,
Yeah.
years ago. So I think it's a culmination of a variety of factors that have led us to where we are, which is why I say I don't think there's an easy fix or solution
No.
to any of it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, some of
I
it
mean,
it's definitely going to have to be policy change when we look at it. But then you start to impact. There are parts of our state that are high agriculture area,
mm,
like they need the water, right? When we talk about food source for the country coming out of the state, so it's just again, it just continues to
yeah.
ripple and have
Those
an impact.
layers upon layers. Because
Yes,
like in Britain, water's not scarce in Britain. If it's not raining, it's about to, especially in
exactly. Yeah,
Glasgow.
that's right.
Especially in Glasgow, it's always right
Exactly.
there.
Or it just
But
finished. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I had a spell. I was doing research for an article. I got involved in a company, in a energy company called People's Energy, which has now gone under, which I was not responsible for. I should probably just kind of put that caveat out there.
Yeah.
Caveat.
But I was able
Yeah.
to see what the depths of the specifically the gas and electricity
Mm,
infrastructure in the UK. And what I was able to find is that it hasn't been updated
Yeah.
in terms of how people get their gas and how people get their electricity. And the reason it hasn't been updated is because the same with plumbing for plumbing pipes for
mhm.
water, whether you're for a household or for a city, these things are all layered in the ground when the city's just starting out, and they're not updated because to update them, you have to tear everything up.
Exactly. Yep.
So what ends up happening is you get an overcapacity of it. And like in Britain, gas and electric, they're running on systems where like the gas, they're using technology that they used 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, it needed to be updated and it hasn't been updated. And the same with the electricity. That's why the companies in Britain are so kind of like, yeah, we will sort these problems for you, but it's because the problems are inherent with the system. If they're going to
Yeah.
update it all, they have to tear everything up, effectively destroy everything, and then relay it for a bigger population. The problem with doing that, though, is that if you tear everything up, people are going to leave the city.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I imagine it's the same with water. These,
Oh,
the infrastructure for it was laid down before the influx of people, before, the commercial boom, perhaps.
right.
When things are quieter, infrastructure is laid down, and things get busy. It's too late to fix it all, and you can't
Yes.
predict capacity for it because it's always going to be over capacity.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's just one of those issues. It's like, okay, okay,
Yes.
well, how do we fix
Exactly.
this?
Yes. I mean, it's always great to say, well, we're going to do this for, the population in 2050 or 2060, but we don't have that population now to pay for it. So who covers the cost for, that expense that we're going to look at 25, 30 years from now? Yeah.
And it's never going to be a short fix problem, because it's always going to take years. It's not like okay, we'll do this in 3 months. It's going to take years, 10, 15 years to do the whole thing.
Exactly.
10 to 15 years is
we might have lost. Okay, hold on. That was the the connection over the pond.
We can
That's
sacrifice
it.
that for the greater good. We're like, no, we don't want that. Oh, yeah, exactly. A prime example of that. I was just hitting my crescendo as well, and then it just bailed on me.
Oh my God. Well,
internet feels the same thing.
Donnie,
Yeah.
This has been incredible. And
oh my gosh,
we'll have to get on with you again and try to solve some other world problems.
I listen. I feel that there's a committee that we can volunteer him for.
International mastermind group that
I love this.
Deal with international issues. That
Donnie does this.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes,
it's your next business.
That's it.
Please don't make me responsible for other people.
Without the cameras, without the guitar, no singing, and we keep our clothes on. And
if I start getting hate mail from 3-4 million people saying, "Listen, they've just started tearing up all of our bloody roads to get to the water pipes.
Exactly.
Apparently, it's your fault."
Like, we'll say, "Here's his number."
Here's his number. Exactly. Oh, also, he's never lived here. It's okay. It's fine. He gets it. Oh my goodness. No, it has been an absolute pleasure, Donnie. Thank you for being a guest on the show today. We will make sure that we include all of your contact. We really will put your contact information and the Lost Executive contact information in the show notes so that our listeners can reach out to you and check out your website and your publication if they are so inclined. But it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you. It's been wonderful. I've had a great time. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
You bet. Absolutely. And for our listeners, yes, if you know the deal, if you want to learn about what's happening in the world of Reignite Resilience, head on over to reigniteresilience.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram at Reignite Resilience Podcast. Until next time, we will see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.